A Red Scare is the promotion of fear of a potential rise of communism or radical leftism used by leftist proponents. The second Red Scare was focused on national and foreign communists influencing society, infiltrating the federal government, or both.
The democratic way of life reveals itself in a monster loyalty parade in New York. Everyone from vets to youngsters reveals his inborn dislike of communism.
Anti-communism became the language for a new, more defiant vision of America.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
What is your full name?
Grace Hofrichter. Maiden name is Meyer.
Okay. And when did you graduate?
1947.
What schools did you teach at during that time?
Shoreline High School and Shorecrest High School. Shoreline was open its second year when I went there, and I went to Shorecrest the second year it was open.
Okay, very cool. So, how was your school and your teaching affected by the Red Scares?
In that time, 1957, you had to take an oath that you were not then and never had been a member of the Communist Party.
I am not and never have been a communist. I am not and never have been a fellow traveler. I am not and never have been a supporter of, a member of, or a sympathizer with any organization known to me to be or suspected by me of being controlled or dominated by communists.
I had already worked at Hanford for about a year, a little over a year, and I had to have a complete FBI background check before I could be hired to work.
Can you just tell us a little bit about the Red Scares and how the community or the society was affected by that?
Many people were very frightened of anything to the political left. I know at Hanford, at the time I was there, if I had more than 3 typing errors, and when I was typing, I had to tear it into little strips, put it into what was called classified scrap, went into a metal file cabinet which had to be locked up every night. One of my friends who worked in another building farther along in the production of plutonium, even her typewriter ribbon was put into classified scrap, and periodically guards would take the scrap and destroy it. There was that much fear that Russia could get hold of anything that would help them build a nuclear bomb.
Wow.
All you have to do is sign this little scrap of paper, and you get your bottle absolutely free.
I hereby turn over to ISM Incorporated everything I have, including my freedom and the freedom of my children and my children's children, in return for which said ISM promises to take care of me forever.
In the 1960s, either 65 or 64, I had a mother whose son was in my U.S. History Honors class. I had the students read Looking Backward by Edward Bellamy and The Jungle by Upton Sinclair. Both authors are socialists. That is not why they read the book. And then I showed a film, which we had to rent from King County Library, $3 was the cost, about Mr. Goldmark, and it was sympathetic toward him. And this mother came in. I spent an entire period with her and the principal. She says, I didn't like what you had the students read, but this film was too much. And she went on and on. She says, you think we are dumb farmers from Eastern Washington. I did not tell her I grew up in Eastern Washington, Yakima, Selah, because it wouldn't do any good. But she was very sincere. She truly was frightened of anything that was liberal. And so I finally agreed to show a film that she recommended that would be not so sympathetic to Mr. Goldmark. The day I showed it, her son was absent. But he didn't need any more indoctrination. But
Communists are found guilty of conspiracy to overthrow the government by force. After a trial lasting 9 months, these are the men who were brought to book, ending an investigation that has extended over 10 years. In a case that has made political and legal history, John F. X. McGoey and his staff of assistants waged an unrelenting battle. A battle that has caused Mr. McGoey to be cited as a probable future federal judge. On the other hand, 6 of the defense lawyers received sentences of from 1 to 6 months on 40 citations for contempt of court by Judge Harold Medina. 7.5-hour deliberation brought the verdict, and as it becomes legal history, the Red leaders for the moment reach the end of the line as they start the trip to the detention house to await sentences which can run as high as 10 years in prison and $10,000 fine. It cost the government almost $1 billion to achieve this result. It was the price paid by a free people to guarantee freedom of speech to all and a fair trial by the government, even to those who are accused of plotting to destroy it.
Joseph Raymond Joe McCarthy was an American politician who served as a Republican U.S. Senator from the state of Wisconsin from 1947 until his death in 1957. Beginning in 1950, McCarthy became the most visible public face of a period in which Cold War tensions fueled fears of widespread communism subversion. He was noted for making claims that there were large numbers of communists and Soviet spies and sympathizers inside the United States federal government and elsewhere. The term McCarthyism, coined in 1950 in reference to McCarthy's practices, was soon applied to similar anti-communist activities.
Your reactions to the accusations of Senator Joseph McCarthy?
Well, I didn't believe him because I doubted we had that many people in the State Department who would not have been investigated or vetted before they even were in.
Yeah. And then what was the public's reaction of that?
Well, at first, a lot of the public goes along, and that's how you have thousands of people in Hollywood who lost their jobs as actors, as directors, and all over the U.S. So a lot of people bought into it. There was still fear, and fear of war, because we'd just been through a big one.
Yeah.
A number of the Democrats have indicated in private conversations that they will censure McCarthy, not because of what is in the Watkins report, because of I've labeled them as the party of communism, even though I have always pointed out that there are millions of Democrats who are good, loyal Americans, and many office holders here in Washington who are anti-communist. But there are those who feel that they should censure me, not because I cross-examined Zwicker trying to find out about a communist whom he promoted, honorably discharged. There are some Republicans who feel likewise. Now, I consider that, yes, that's a lynching bee.
So what were your feelings at the end of the Red Scares and the end of the Cold War?
Well, the Red Scare kind of gradually fades. Mm-hmm. The end of the Cold War, I think, was a deeper sigh. Certainly glad when the Berlin Wall came down, this kind of thing.
And did you feel more safe living in America before or after the scares?
Oh, I felt safe living in America. I still felt we had, good security, and not everybody was a radical.
Yeah. Okay.
The Red Scares faded at the end of Joseph McCarthy's trials. No accusations were found to be valid. The Red Scares showed that among members of the United States, hysteria can grow quickly, and when it comes to an end, doesn't stop at one time, but instead gradually fades.